everyone, and welcome back to another day of Bookmas. This is Naomi with Naomi's Bookshelf, and here I am with my most surprising books of the year. I have a list of 10. Yesterday's list of 5 was it was such a good reading year. I felt like doing a list of 10 wasn't very kind to those extra 5 books. But we're going to be doing a list of 10 this time because it was such a great year. So the first one I'm going to talk about is my number 10 on the list. I'm going to work my way up. And the 10th book that really surprised me this year was Daughter of Sherlock Holmes by Leonard Goldberg. I did not expect this much out of this book. I thought it was really fast-paced and intriguing. I really loved how it told you who, but not why or how, and you had to figure out the motive and the way he did it, and not the criminal itself. You knew that. I really do like that technique, and I didn't know that it was in that book. I also really enjoyed all the characters and another level of it. It was a really great cozy mystery, and I didn't expect to like it that much, but I'm really glad I read it for a book club. Number 9 on this list is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I honestly just picked this up for a book club. I think you'll notice a trend with some of these books. But this was such an interesting one to pick up. I didn't expect to like it. I expected it to be so frivolous. It was also 500 pages, and it did not feel like 500 pages at all. It just was so interesting, and I loved the satire aspect of it. It was just so clever and so well done. And I think because of that, I've discovered I really like satires. So it was really great. I really did enjoy it. And I didn't expect to enjoy it that much. And it was funny because at my book club, a lot of the ladies were like, we did not want to pick this up because of, the content, the materialism, all of those things. And yet everyone really enjoyed the book because it was such a great storytelling form. And so it shocked all of us, and it was really a great one to read. We really all enjoyed it, and I literally loved it so much I bought the next 2 books because I really wanted to finish those, as I talked about in my series I need to finish in 2020 video. So that will be in my Bookmas playlist down below. But yes, that was my number 9 most surprising book of the year. The next book is Indian Horse by Richard Wegamise, and this one was also for a book club book. There is a trend here going on, I promise. And it is really interesting that I was not sure what to make of this book when I picked it up, when we were like, oh yeah, it's book club pick. But it sucker punched me. I didn't expect to feel so much about it, but it just was like a punch to the gut about the residential schools, about the abuse that happened in them, how we just even treat those people who grew up in those, like the children in those homes. It was just mind-boggling. It's crazy to think of the stuff that the First Nations people went through and the different tribes and all the losing of their languages. It really surprised me how hard it hit me, and I'm glad I read it, and I am really looking forward to reading more of his work, but it is heavy content, but it shocked me how much I read and enjoyed that book considering the content material. But yeah, it definitely surprised me. I did not expect that going in. Number 7 on my list is actually an Agatha Christie, and it is The Passenger to Frankfurt. And this one is a surprising book because it is nothing like Agatha Christie's other books. And I have heard it is by far ranked as the worst Agatha Christie book out there. And I can see why. But I really ended up enjoying this spy nuance government conspiracy thing that was going on in this book. I honestly don't know why I enjoyed it so much. Because I was looking at everyone's reviews and I'm like, yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying, but I actually liked that aspect. The different levels of, I'm sorry, they're still doing renos. It was interesting how the different characters went together. It wasn't a perfect book, but I really ended up enjoying the process of reading it. I didn't want to put it down, which was kind of a surprise considering everyone hates this book of Agatha Christie's, and they deem it her worst novel ever. And I was like, it actually was good for me, but I also really don't recommend it to anyone who's trying out Agatha Christie because it is not a good interpretation of her normal work. I personally enjoyed it, like I've been saying, but most people do not. And I understand why, but I also was like, I personally enjoyed those elements as well. So, give and take. Book number 6 was actually one that I picked up on a whim as it was an ebook and it fit a readathon, and that is North of Normal by C. Sunrise Pearson, or Person, actually not Pearson, Person. And it was like, whoa. It takes place in Canada, and it is about a girl, like, it's her life story. It's a nonfiction memoir about this woman as she grew up in the boonies, like far off the grid, kind of like, from what I understand, of Glass Castle and Educated, Canadian version of that, I believe. And it's just crazy. Her mom, the nudist colony that they lived in, like the fact that she was so excited to get underwear at age 5, because that was a special treat, a birthday present, that she could finally wear underwear. It's like, it's such a different world than where I live in and what I've ever lived in. It was really interesting to see, along with her mom's boyfriends, and how everything ended up and how she followed her mom around. It was just really interesting, and I just was gripped the whole time. So I couldn't put it down, and I really was shocked at how much I actually enjoyed it. I mean, I do enjoy nonfiction, my memoirs and all those things, but I was shocked at how much I loved this one and how much I just kept reading and could not stop reading it. I could not put it down, especially while we were on vacation. I just wanted to keep reading North of Normal, which was it's such an interesting book I'd never heard of before I picked it up on a whim from the library, especially as an e-copy. Number 5 on this list is In My Hands by Irene Gut-Updike, I think, actually, and it is another memoir about how she was Polish and she ended up doing a lot of work with Jews and helping them in World War II, especially when she herself was considered a slave to the system. She was forced into all these different positions, and she was doing her best to help the Jews escape, and then being a rebel and different things. It was really interesting, and I thought it was very impactful. I was shocked at the things that she went through, and I do enjoy those kind of books, but for some reason I just didn't expect to be so enthralled, and it just shocked me and surprised me and engrossed me, and I just couldn't put it down like the other ones. I only picked it up because it was written in my birth year, which is 1992, for a challenge. I think it might have been Pop Sugar or something like that. But I was very pleasantly surprised, and it definitely was number 5 on my most surprising books of the year. Recommend it to anyone who wants a nonfiction about World War II. The next one is one that just showed up yesterday on my most disappointing list, so you'll be shocked to see it again, or maybe you won't, considering how I talked about it. But that is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. It is on my number 4 spot. And honestly, I walked into that book not wanting to read it. In like some ways I wanted to read it because I was like, I'm a reader and I've tried and I should have read this book by now. I felt like that was one of the pinnacle books that you have to read if you're a reader, or if you're a classics reader. And I was like, I have never read Wuthering Heights. So when Megan and I buddy read it, I was like reading it and expecting awful things. And the first 200 pages like gripped me. I was so interested. I actually remember telling her, this could be a new favorite book. This could be a 5-star. And so I was so surprised at how I responded to it and how I really enjoyed it. And then it took a downfall, which is why it was on my most disappointing books of the year. But honestly, the first half was like 5 stars, and then the rest of it just sank. And I couldn't give it any more than a 3 because the beginning was so great, the second half was so bad, but the first half surprised me so much. I was like, this has got to be a most surprising book of the year. I did not expect to like it this much. So it hit both lists, surprising and disappointing. But honestly, I'm glad I've read it, but I won't be rereading it soon. But I thought it was going to be a 5-star. I predicted that, and it was totally not. Number 3 on my list is actually one that I was really looking forward to, but I'm also still surprised I liked it so much. And that is Love and Luck by Jenna Evans Welch. Welch. It is a YA, which is something I don't read a lot of, and if I do read it, I tend not to enjoy it as much. It is a YA contemporary romance. I mean, it was set in Ireland. It's great, but I honestly didn't expect to enjoy it that much, as I don't really enjoy YA contemporary romance. I feel like it's often too cliche and too boring. dare I say it. But this one just really hit the spot. It was like fun, a road trip, siblings and discussions, and it was just, I really enjoyed it. And I definitely was surprised to see how well it did. I really loved Love and Gelato. Last year I read that one, which is the first book, or this is like the companion to that one. And it was just like, it was so good. And I'm really glad I read it, and I really want to read more of this world if there's ever more, because for some reason this is a YA author that I can get behind and really enjoy. I feel like there's not many of those that truly hit my taste. Number 2 on this list is actually a William Shakespeare play. It is Measure for Measure. This one came when I was in a reading slump of William Shakespeare. I think I had read The Taming of the Shrew, the last play I had read, and that was not a good experience. And so when I picked up Measure for Measure, I did not have high hopes. I honestly thought I was just going to be forcing myself through this play just for the sake of getting through it and reading a Shakespeare play in September for ShakeTube. However, it blew me away. I loved it so much. I couldn't believe how the justice worked in it, the mercy, the different levels in it of like the characters and relationships. And it's not a happy play. It's not happy at all, but it was just so compelling, and I just was listening to it as an audiobook while I was driving like an hour away, and I just sat in my car and finished the audiobook because I wanted to know what happened. And it was just, I really did enjoy it, and it blew me out of the water. It took me from a low point with Shakespeare to a really high point with Shakespeare, and now I'm really, really excited to get back into Shakespeare again. I haven't picked up too much since Measure for Measure, but it definitely was like, it hit the spot in a really good way, and I'm really excited to do more in the coming year. And the last book, my most surprising book of the year, is number 1, and I know a few people who are going to be extra excited about this, and it is most definitely, without a doubt, The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. This one, I had no interest in reading. I did not care about Percy Jackson's world, nothing at all. But Sarah, Megan, and I have a book club, and we started reading books together, like we'd read over Skype together, or we'd read on our own and discuss the chapters. And Sarah really wanted us to read The Lightning Thief. So Megan and we agreed to give it a shot, and it turned out to be amazing. I had no idea it was this good. And then it just, the characters, the world building, the mythology. I love mythology. And I was so shocked. I could not believe how incredible it was. And honestly, we have read the next 2 books since then, and we're going to read book 4 and book 5 next year because we just want to finish the series. And it's just something where I honestly thought I would never be interested in Percy Jackson, as it is like middle grade, fantasy-esque, and it's just like things that are not my typical interests. But wow, really loved it. So it definitely takes the top of the most surprising list of the year. My most surprising book, which honestly is a really good thing because I'm really glad it goes to such an amazing book, an amazing series in general too, but like the second book I knew I'd love because of the first one with being so great. So those are my 10 most surprising books of the year. Please let me know down in the comments below, what is your most surprising book of the year? Did you have any that you really didn't have high expectations for and they just shocked you, blew you out of the water? I'd love to hear which ones those were. Please subscribe if you haven't, and like if you would like to, and I'll see you tomorrow for another day of Bookmas. Bye for now.